just a bit of background on Becker Underwood. We're an American-owned company. We have a manufacturing site in West Sussex in Littlehampton, and we look after the whole European business from that site. Our specialities in sports turf priorities are surfactant technologies, pigment technologies, which we'll talk to you today about, and dye formulations, and biostimulants for seed coatings and turf inoculants. So today we're going to talk a bit about Vision Pro. We carried out some research with the STRI last winter, coming into this spring, and this was basically just to have a look on what Vision Pro is actually doing. The product was launched in the US about a year and a half ago, originally for fungicide applications, and when they started tank mixing it, they were seeing some very positive results in turf quality. So our American colleagues got onto us to set up some trials, and we brought them into the STRI to do. So we'll just go through that with you. So Vision Pro, just give you a little introduction what actually the product is, the features and benefits, the application rates, and STRI trials which we carried out with Ruth and Julie earlier this year. So what is Vision Pro? It's a revolutionary spraying aid and turf colorant. It contains natural pigments and not dyes. There's completely different technology to what dyes are. The pigment formulation in Vision Pro is a natural green pigment, which goes through such a process through a dispersion technology vessel we have, and it's dispersed down to microns, so it stays in suspension when you're spraying it out onto turf. If it didn't go through that process, the pigments would just physically fall out of the formulation and drop to the bottom of a tank. So it's not a dye. Dyes are originally formulated for the textile industry, just to dye clothes, and they break down with the UV light very quickly. So there's completely different concepts really. Some of the dyes you might come across, things like Blaze On, Turf Mark, and various other branded products. So first and foremost, it's a spray pattern indication tool for you. It identifies the turf it's being sprayed, so when you're applying plant protection products, it identifies the areas you sprayed so you don't get any overlap or missed areas. It will improve turf quality when applied in the autumn and winter and spring, when the cooler conditions are coming into play. One of the major benefits, it gives you an instant green look to the turf. It just physically, as soon as you've sprayed it, you will see a beneficial effect in the turf colour. And it's a very natural turf colour as well. It's not an artificial green. It does blend in nicely with the greens and fairways. One of the major important components of the product, it is UV resistant, so you do get a good longevity out of the product in the winter when you're not physically cutting the pigments off the leaf. So Vision Pro mode of action. Basically this pigment technology actually adheres to the leaf and darkens the leaf foot basically, and what that does, it increases the solar radiation around the canopy, so in turn it will just warm the canopy up a bit, so it creates a better climate for growth and product uptake. And what we'll see, it will increase the photosynthetic rate of the plant in slow periods of growth, and generally increase the metabolism of the plant in the autumn and winter. So that's the basic principle of the product. It's just increasing the sunlight it's coming within the plant, and in turn that just warms it up, so you get a better uptake from other plant protection products you may tank mix the product with. So what we're seeing is increased metabolism rates. Just a bit on the light itself and the mode of action. All light coming into physical objects is either reflected, transmitted or absorbed. And it's that finer one we're looking at really with Vision Pro, just to absorb more UV and more of a light spectrum into the plant. And within photosynthetic rates, the radiation, the optimum for photosynthesis between 400 to 700 nanometers. Anything below 400, it can be detrimental to the plant, but fortunately the ozone blocks most of them raised out. And wavelengths above 700 nanometers don't carry enough energy to give you a photosynthetic response. So this is just a diagram really. We've got the visible light down here. This is the percent of photosynthetic activity. And what this formulation is done, it's been formulated such a way it just fits in with that optimum range between 400 and 700. So it's physically bringing more light into the plant. So this is just a diagram really. There's a sun, it's giving off its solar radiation. And this is, if you could take this as a plant not being treated by Vision Pro, you will get a lot more reflectance, light bouncing off, a lot more transmittance, and not very much absorbance, especially in periods of low light levels in the winter, sort of February, March time. So if you can imagine this leaf's been treated with Vision Pro, what we're seeing here is reflectance reduced, the transmittance is reduced, and the absorbance is increased. So that just lifts the temperature of the canopy up. So that's just emphasising what we're saying really. It's increasing solar radiation around the plant, the radiation absorption increases and the reflectance decreases. And that's what we get, increased photosynthesis. So some of the features of the product, it's a long-lasting UV reflection formulation, lasts up to 6 to 8 weeks in the dormant periods, sort of late autumn, winter time and going into the springtime. It contains colour lock technology. In addition to the natural pigments we grind down to such a level, we actually put an adhesive formulation in there just to literally stick the pigments onto the leaf so they don't come off. And that's what makes it adhere to the plant basically. And that will dry on within sort of 20 minutes to half hour. So there's no time restrictions before play can continue. It can be tank mixed with all plant protection products. It's been independently evaluated by the STRI in the UK, and it's been extensively used in North America. And it can be used all around. Although we're targeting the product at autumn, winter, spring applications, you can use it all around as a turf colourant just to, in case you get any fertiliser scorch, bits of dry patch you're looking to cover up. So it can be used all round, all year round as a turf colourant as well. So the benefits you're going to see with applying Vision Pro, you're going to increase the turf quality and playability during periods of slow growth. When the plant's gone dormant in the winter, it'll give you an instant colour effect, so you're going to see it straight away. And one of the major points, it's natural looking. It's not artificial like some of the spray pattern indicator formulations you get. It is very natural looking pigments. So these are some of the spray outs we did with Vision Pro. As you can see here, that side of the football pitch has been treated with Vision Pro, and that's an untreated side. This was actually at Leicester City Football Club, and it certainly darkened up the leaf. With Leicester City, they haven't got lighting rigs, and they can see this being a real potential product for them during the winter when the light levels are dropped, and we're just looking to get a bit of colour and a bit of growth in the stadium. So this is on a golf course situation. This is down at Ely Golf Club. This is a before application and this is after. So this is just on the surrounds, and you can see there's a bit of drought going on there. And literally that's been sprayed as he's turned around. So you do get that instant look. Again, this has been sprayed on the golf green. As you can see, if you just follow the pointer, that's the area it's not been sprayed, and this area has been sprayed. And it's giving you a green effect, but it's not too artificial. It's a natural looking green, and it can just mask the different grass species. If you've got a bit of yellow in POA, it can mask that and just bring it up to colour with the rest of the plants in the springtime. So this is on the golf tee. This is down in the golf club near London. This was a treated area, this was untreated. You can see there's a bit of dry patch, a bit of hydrophobic conditions here, and that's been treated. And that was a similar case over here before it was treated. So it's actually masking a bit of dry patch during the summer. And divot mixes. All the divot mixes were coloured green, so just masked them a bit more. Made it look more uniform. Again, this is a tea. Recommended rate, untreated. So just a bit on the application. You applied at 1.2 litres per hectare. The minimum is 300 litres of water. Maximum, we say, would be 400 to 500 litres. It is a foliar application. You're looking to target the leaf, so then water volumes have to be pretty low, just to target the leaf. And then you've just got a standard mix, really. Once you've got them two criteria sorted, it's advised if you're tank mixing it with a fungicide or a herbicide, follow their label guidelines, because there's no restrictions on use with this, whereas your chemical will have certain aspects to it. So just moving on to the STRI trials data we did with the STRI last year. They were very positive. We carried the trials down on the bottom site. Unfortunately, it's not still visible because that's been all concluded, but we have got some spray outs for you to look at out there just to demonstrate what the product's doing. The initial treatment was applied on the 10th of November, so just going into winter. And the assessments were made at regular intervals for a 4-month period. So these are the assessments we did. I'm sure you're all familiar with these products. Chipco, we've got Headway in there, Instrata, 2 of the Strobes, Astute and Medallion. We're quite fortunate to get Medallion into the trials, but we just managed to squeeze it in. And Vision Pro, we've got there at the bottom. So these were the trial plots we conducted. We had an untreated, which was a control. Then we had a Chipco Green by itself. And then we had a Chipco Green with Vision Pro. And the same with Headway. We had a Headway and Vision Pro mix. Instrata, Vision Pro mix. And we did that throughout. So this is the first trial we were very interested in with Chipco Green. What we're seeing here, we're seeing on the vertical axis, we're seeing turf quality, rating 0 to 10. And down here, the dates we carried the assessments and applications out at. We made 3 applications during this trial with fungicide and Vision Pro. One was on the 10th of November here, and one was just in December. And then the last one was just at the start of February. Just one thing to note with this trial, this was probably one of the harshest winters we've had on record, and as you can see, the product performance here is very, very good. The blue line indicates the control, the red line indicates the fungicide on its own, and then the green line indicates fungicide and Vision Pro. So we can see an upward trend here, whereas the fungicide alone just dips a bit in turf quality, but with the Vision Pro in, you're constantly above that turf threshold of quality. And we're seeing that throughout, all the way through to February time. It was around sort of this period we had a lot of snowfall, and as you can see, the turf quality is still very good, above the STRI standard protocol for turf quality. One of the interesting things here is the application in February. Just as the snow lifted, we made a second application, and we've seen a massive increase in turf quality, going all the way up to turf quality of 8. And bearing in that mind, going into spring at that sort of quality, you're in good stead for your spring programs of fertiliser. So, as you can see, it's significantly increasing turf quality when mixed with Chipco Green. Again, we did this trial with Headway. Same applications. Again, we can see a similar trend. We're seeing the Vision Pro fungicide mix going up to that level of 5, and then that third application, we see a massive increase in turf quality. So in Strata, again, very similar trend, getting up to that level of 5. Strata's holding good turf quality, and then we're going into spring there. We're seeing an upward trend just through the physical temperature warming up in the spring. Scorpio, a mesosystemic fungicide. Again, we're seeing the same trend as we did with the other formulations. And we're seeing a decline in the control. Another Strobilurin, again, similar trend. We're getting that quality up to 5, and then into the spring, we're getting it right up to 8, ready to go into your spring fertiliser programme. Astute, similar trend. And Medallion, the latest technology on the market, you can see here, it's holding its own. But tank mix with Vision Pro, there's a significant difference in turf quality going through the winter. Must be stressed at this point, around the 10th of November, the disease incidence was around 30 to 35% in the treated areas. So this was a curative application, not a preventative. So we're always firefighting this trial. So just to finish off, the average turf quality with all the fungicides, which include contact systemics, mesosystemics, the pattern's very similar with all the formulations. So we're seeing a constant trend there, which is very positive from our point of view. And again, a very similar trend with fungicides on their own, holding that turf quality where it actually started off. So a bit on the commercial details. It comes in 2.5 litre packs. Each pack covers 2 hectares.
Good afternoon everybody, and welcome to the Sheriff Amenity Becker Underwood Vision Pro station. As you already got quite a lot of the information indoors, it's just really to show you the visual effects of what you're going to actually see on the ground by using Vision Pro. We have over here one plot that's had the gradient go through it and then sanded without the Vision Pro. This one's obviously had the Vision Pro put on it. You can see the colour differences. There's also a difference on the actual sand that's been applied to the ground as well. That's been coloured a greeny effect as well. Here you have without the Vision Pro, and again here just Vision Pro on its own. So you can very clearly, I hope, see the colour disparities between the two different plots. The main point with it, as you've already got, it's a pigment technology. It's not a dye, and we're looking for a very natural greening effect, not an artificial green. And I think these plots show that quite nicely. But I'll also say, if you're actually applying it to turf that is already similar colour to this, then you're not going to see a huge impact from using the Vision Pro. So what we've also done, we've actually sprayed it on the ground behind you to show you the impact it can have on an area of ground that's in much worse condition. The point you're seeing over there is if you're going to be using Vision Pro to improve the visual quality of your turf, you can imagine coming out of the winter period into the spring, and for instance your meadow grass is looking very sickly, very yellow, and you're wanting a nice even up the colour disparity between the two grasses, then it's an ideal product for that situation. The potential is there, certainly, because of the effects it's having on the temperature of the grass and in the ground as well. So that's something we're going to look at going into this winter as well, because there's still a lot of trials work to do on other products it can be mixed in with. But we've actually done a lot of work with the SGRI on putting it in with fungicides, and that's been the first approach we've had with this product. But it will go in with all the other tank mixes of liquid fertilisers and fungicides and other plant protection products. And you can imagine, your approach to your greens, they might not be looking quite so good all through the year. They might have a bit of drought stress and things like that. So it will just help to even up the colour between the grasses, or any sort of disease issues there might be on the greens as well. But again, the point is, it's not a very artificial green. It's a natural greening effect, and that's what we're looking for. And I think that's what it gives it. Clearly, you can see there's some red thread effects there, but when you look next to it, it's much more vivid.